Hello, friends. Our subscriber sent us this story, which is more like a monologue or a confession. Personally, we were deeply touched by it. I hope that you will not remain indifferent to it. All names and place names have been changed for ethical reasons. At the end, the storyteller asked for advice, but we have no idea what to advise her. So if anyone has any thoughts of their own, please write to us in the comments at the end.
The first time he kissed me, unexpectedly, for the first time, it felt like a short circuit in my shocked mind. It was the best and biggest rush of drugs one could ever feel, both physically and mentally. This tipping point reminded me of a series of roller coasters going up the first and biggest hill. I certainly suppose there could have been a dramatic rescue as the passengers descended the long ladder to safe solid ground, but how often does that happen? No, the breathtaking descent down the hill is almost inevitable, scary and unbelievable at the same time. Cheating puts everything into focus, your own selfishness, your pure happiness at the new turn of events, all the cracks, flaws and dull shine of your marriage. It feels crazy and strange, like you've walked into some surreal painting. It keeps you awake on those first nights when you stare at the ceiling, when you're lying next to your sleeping spouse and your thoughts are a million miles away. When you think about it, it gives you a nervous thrill, like a new relationship in high school, but with a bunch of tantalizing wrongs, taboos. You feel nauseous, your stomach twisting in knots as you vacuum, serve your husband dinner with a smile, and smack his forehead. You wake up horny, your jaw hurts from grinding your teeth. Soon the cheating begins to normalize. It feels like this is the way it should be, like it's perfectly right. As if all the harsh judgments made against cheaters can't be applied to you because being with the person you love is so enjoyable. How can it be wrong? How can nature push your body and mind in such a horrible direction? You realize that society's view of monogamy is unrealistic. You settle comfortably on his shoulder. He puts his hands on your face as you kiss, and he kisses you like he means it, his lips greedily searching, and oh, you haven't felt this in your marriage in years, and you want to, and sometimes even do, cry at the beauty of it all. You think deeply about your marriage and how you got to this point. You realize that you didn't really think much about marriage. You were just in a canoe that was floating quietly down the river of relationships and eventually paddled under the bridge of matrimony. A year before the wedding, your thoughts were busy booking the venue, choosing the dress, bridesmaids, flowers, menu, invitations, etc. Were you really thinking about becoming a wife? You had no reason to ever end your relationship with your then boyfriend. No reason to turn down his perfectly planned proposal and break his heart. How could you have done that? He is kind, honest, motivated, intelligent, and handsome. He never called you a bitch, never yelled at you, never brought ugly drama into the relationship. Sure, the sex wasn't great, but you learned from your past 6-year relationship that great sex was often the result of strong drama, and that drama was making you shake after your old boyfriend pushed you out of the room somehow. Your ears still ring in your ears when you remember his unsubstantiated drunken shouts of slut. So, when you finally got out of that nightmare and realized you just wanted a nice guy, he showed up, and the years flew by, a ring appeared on your finger, a wedding took place, a house was built. And then he came up and kissed you in the dark. He kissed you for an hour outside on a December evening in New England, not feeling the cold at all, while the stars winked approvingly at you from a clear black sky. Cheating is like being in high school with your husband playing the role of dad. You're hiding something, you invent alibis before you get home. I went to Ruby Tuesdays with friends and had a hamburger with no cheese and sweet potato fries for dinner. Rachel told us about the new cat she rescued. His name is Tabby. It all seems mostly harmless. After all, it's not like you're directly hurting anyone. This is about you and your lover, after all. It has nothing to do with your husband. Despite your best intentions, you have feelings for him. It feels weird and slightly uncomfortable when it's approaching the time of mandatory marital sex. When your husband kisses you, it doesn't feel like nothing. All your sparks are with your lover. This reality takes your breath away before you tell your husband, "I love you," after lube sex to make sure your voice doesn't shake. You cry very gently and quietly into the pillowcase in the dark, clenching the sheets with your fists, while his satisfied breathing becomes even as he sleeps. You try to be an obedient wife. You cook your husband dinner and do his laundry, carefully tucking his socks together so he always takes the right pair. You ask how he spent the day, bring him water and aspirin when he has a headache. You buy an almond Snickers bar at the checkout line of the grocery store because he loves them. You take care of the bills, the little cogs of running a household. You plan everything to make his life seem easy and stress-free. He still feels the discord and celebrates it. You just shrug and the tears make your eyes shine like stars. This conversation recedes into the background and you continue on. Your lover opens his apartment door and sees that you are upset. His eyebrows wrinkle in concern and he kisses you. The sex is amazing. It's like trying chocolate again after years of dieting, only much better. You ask your lover what 2 words he would use to describe his life right now, only because you want to answer that question yourself, terrible and awesome, and when you hear it, you hide your head on his chest. There are times when you are so into it that you don't even care if even your husband magically appears in that room. You stare at your lover's glow-in-the-dark watch and wish its numbers would slow down. You grab every opportunity to see him eagerly, but afraid of seeming too intrusive. You regularly play songs that are meaningful to him, sometimes crying but always wanting to. You read online posts about cheating and cringe when you see the general and harsh judgments: bad man, liar, no morals, unforgivable. It makes you feel more like a failure than you do now, because you really strive to be a good person. You have wonderful goals. You volunteer at the local soup kitchen sometimes. You take it personally when you unintentionally hurt someone. It tears you up inside. And yes, you realize that what you're doing could cause incredible harm to someone you love, a best friend with whom you have a legal contract, a person whose financial, social, and personal lives are so intertwined that it's hard to even imagine how it's even possible to untangle it all. Who's going to keep the living room table if we break up? You frantically think. You know your husband has had a difficult life. You wanted to save him, to be for him the shining, perfect man you knew he deserved, to lift him above those pitfalls. Now you realize that you are just another horrible tiger trap for him, covered by leaves, hoping he won't stumble into it. It makes you feel terrified. You can't tell yourself now that sex isn't that important because once you feel it again, it's like the moon pulling the tide from the beach. You realize you need it. My God, you really need it before you become wrinkled, old, and in the sunset of life. Cheating is sad and beautiful, frustrating and beautiful. It's the biggest dichotomy you'll ever feel. It crashes into your vision of the future with a looming question mark, forever branding you with that big scarlet 5, making you question everything. For long months past, the most difficult, depressing, and guilt-filled months of my life, I felt trapped in an unbearable situation. It was clear to me that I was unhappy with my marriage and, unfortunately, had neither the courage nor the foresight to admit it to myself or to my husband. I would have liked to talk to him before going rogue, but alas, the internal pressure of trying self-preservation and denial took over. I started making suicide jokes, having fits of sobbing in the car. I suffered these feelings for as long as I could, still seeing my lover often. His embrace seemed my only comfort, my only truly happy place. I looked through my husband's correspondence with his female classmates while he was in the shower or asleep, hoping to find some suggestion of interest on his part. He confessed to a mutual friend that he had a crush on a classmate, and that tidbit made my heart pound with joy and hope. Jealousy is a completely unfeeling feeling in my mind. The sex got worse and worse. I noticed the complete lack of intimacy we had both in and out of the bedroom. When he took me to bed, I was sweaty and anxious, focused on finishing the deed and getting an excuse for another week or two. I had reached an internal breaking point, unable to continue this charade and desperately believing that my husband deserved someone better than me, someone honest, someone who would look at him with stars in his eyes. My husband and I went to the beach one late April afternoon and walked on the cool, wet sand, my heart pounding in my chest and bile coming up to my throat as I prepared to confess and talk about our relationship. I sank down onto the warm sand on shaky legs and began picking at shell fragments and dry beach grass, my eyes behind my big sunglasses filling with tears. I told him everything. He wasn't surprised. I knew he suspected many instances. One day he pulled up to my lover's apartment complex, when I thought he was still in town, and saw my car sliding out of the darkness. He paused and stopped. A black dog ran nearby, happily chasing a tattered tennis ball. Overhead, seagulls screamed. I looked at his face, my own trembling mouth reflected in his black glasses, and a hood was pulled over his head so that he seemed almost a stranger. He said, I wasn't perfect either. My world tilted on its axis, shifted and slipped into a bizarre alternate reality. With a dry mouth, I finally wheezed, "What?" My husband told me that he had seen strippers and prostitutes. The first time it happened was at his bachelor party, a month before our wedding. He told me he could be sexual with strangers in a way he couldn't accomplish with someone he loved. I was shocked and happy that he took some of the blame for the whole stupid situation on his shoulders. I was so grateful that he told me about it, that I thanked him for it. I felt no jealousy, just a pink streak of joy and hope that I finally saw a way out of this shameful mess that was steadily consuming my life. We went to counseling, averting our eyes, with shame in our voices, telling the therapist what we had done, like naughty children confessing to breaking mom's vase. Our visions for the future had diverged. My husband wanted to fix things, make things work. I wanted to free myself from this relationship, to throw off the veil of insincerity I had lived under for the last 2 years after we were married. My husband became desperate. He contacted my mother, father, sister, and told them every detail he knew about my indiscretions. A terrible outburst ensued. My family's opinion of me was irreparably damaged. Involving my family in the intimate, sexual details of my life seemed 100 times greater betrayal than my husband's infidelity. I felt nothing positive toward him. Gradually, after more dramatic incidents involving the police, I mended my relationship with my family. I moved into my aunt's basement for the next 2.5 months, allowing my husband to stay in the house, which was mostly paid for by me, still contributing half of the mortgage and bills, still coming over to vacuum and occasionally do the dishes. I thought I could be there for him, but whenever I am, I feel myself being sucked into his swamp of sadness. The guilt I feel for wanting to end this relationship is the heaviest burden I have carried. I carry his sadness with me like a constant weight on my shoulders, hoping for the day when he falls in love again and some other woman can pick up and carry the load. Our house is for sale. He has a table in the living room, and the rooms are slowly emptying out. I'm back in my childhood bedroom at my mother's house, my old plush hippo resting on the blanket of my single bed. Divorce papers are going through the sluggish court system. My husband won't tell me where his new apartment is. When I walk down the wooded path of the nearest pond alone or with my current boyfriend, I place my hand on the golden bark of the wish tree as I have done since childhood and wish my husband happiness, to find a man who will treat him well and make his heart sing. I wish that I would never crush someone again the way I did and that I would be honest, honorable, and forthright. I'm learning. I'm growing. I am done with cheating now and forever. How does it feel to cheat on someone? It feels like cheating, it feels like an undeserved amazing escape, but it also feels like a temporary solution to hopeless, limiting circumstances. What does it feel like to stop cheating on someone? Heavy, heartbreaking, liberating, hopeful, pure. It feels like you're back on the path to becoming a better person by doing your best to make it happen.
Thank you if you listened to the end. Subscribe, comment, and like. Bye.